Hello and welcome to Regen, the first episode of 2020. Welcome back and thank you for joining us. I'm your host Dino, and joining me, a man who also thinks fencing would be cooler with a lightsaber, is Chris Soulsby.
They get better and better. How are you?
I'm very well. I've been looking forward to this one for pretty much the whole of my holiday. Coming back and talking electric racing. We are also joined by the Sporting and Communications Director of the ERA Championship, Beth Lily.
Hello. Pleasure to join.
Yes, thank you for joining us. It's obviously quite a nice time in the afternoon, late afternoon, evening there. But thank you for coming on.
Hey, you're welcome. Yeah, it's not too late. Don't worry.
Good. It is quite early, and there's definitely the coffee in hand here for sure.
Yes, we're all topped up, ready to go with our liquids, and I'm chatting total crap.
We're out of practice.
We need it. I've got my Lemsip. We need to hone it in.
Yes, no, just in time to get a cold. So that's always good for the podcast. But we will crack on. You can follow Beth and the ERA Championship at ERA Championship and at Beth Lily Race on Twitter, Instagram, the same, and the website erachampionship.com. So, this episode, we mostly will be talking about the ERA, the Electric Racing Academy. But first, as always, Media of the Week. And Beth, we'll start with you, because I really like your one. It seems so interesting that
Really?
That's a thing.
Okay, so the Media of the Week that I chose, completely no idea what you guys were expecting, but I chose No Man's Sky, the game, which I've been playing on the Xbox, but it's available on different consoles and PC. So it's the space exploration survival game, and it came out back in 2016 and created quite a buzz because it had this groundbreaking, infinite, procedurally generated universe. But at the time, the reviews were a little bit low because basically all you could do was just explore this universe. But since then, they've added quite a lot of updates. That means there's actually more interesting gameplay. The thing that I love about it is it's got a musical score written by English post-rock band 65 Days of Static, which I just think it's incredible and hypnotic, and I just relax after a day of work to it. But December, just gone last month, they added a new Easter egg to the game called Byte Beat, which allows players to create their own music. It's a really powerful bit of musical software, like a synthesizer, sequencer, and you don't need any musical experience to have fun with it, but also if you do, there's a lot of complexity and depth. So if you're like me and a complete music nerd, you can have loads of fun with it. So I just thought I'd bring that up.
It is really cool. I have heard of it, and I've heard that the reviews weren't great after release, but they've really looked after the game and obviously adding some amazing content.
Yeah, they kind of created a base almost, and then people bought this base and were like, well, there's not really a game here. It's something incredible. It's clearly some amazing tech, but what do I do with it? I can just fly around to different planets, but that's about it. But since then, they've actually added, say, like a storyline as such, and kind of a gameplay to it. And I think the model itself behind it could lead to lots of exciting things. So I love it. I find it really relaxing, and the music is really good, which is the most important thing for me in games.
That's really cool. Yeah, I second
good.
that. Music is just... I can't do the Wipeout and all of the fast-paced races because their music just makes me anxious. it really just... Things are happening and it's too much.
Well, if I wasn't in motorsport, I'd be a game composer. So.
Oh well, that's that's really cool. And Chris, what do you do to relax? What are you watching at the moment or looking at?
What do I? Oh, I never relaxed either. You know that. I've honestly got no idea. What have I done recently?
Have you seen Star Wars?
I have seen the new Star Wars. However, EastEnders, so
good.
soap in the UK, which is very niche. Brilliant this time of year, it's lots of drama. But I'll say Dracula. The BBC recently did a 3-part feature-length drama of Dracula, the classic tale by Bram Stoker. And it had a bit of a different spin on things, really. I mean, it was dark, but it wasn't too dark. It was good. Check it out, I couldn't name any of the cast, but I would recommend. 3 hour-and-a-half episodes. Yeah.
Good.
There you go.
Excellent.
What's yours?
I'll try and find it and put a link in the show notes as well.
Yeah, I'll do something. Yeah.
So my media of the week is one that will excite the sort of audio drama fans out there. I've been listening to a relatively new one called The Culling, and I might have talked about this one before just because it's quite interesting. It's a choose-your-own-adventure podcast. So do you remember the books where if you want to do this, turn to this page. If you want to do this, turn to this page. Go left, go right, go to page X. So it's like that, but in audio. And so when you download an episode, you get 5 or 6 in your sort of inbox at once because you have to find out which one to go to. It's for a separate story. So, I mean, that must be a lot of work for them, but it really is, you could listen to a few different stories, similar, but the outcome very different. So it's a remote planet, a team of researchers creating a long-range transmitter, and it's sort of, they're not the only ones listening to the signal in deep space. But I recommend it fully, so I will also put some links in the show notes. Are either of you audio drama fans?
I haven't listened to one, but that sounds brilliant.
Yeah, I was going to say.
That sounds really exciting.
I might be converted. I think that the only audio drama I can think of is the old school War of the Worlds that I've listened to. I tend to be more of a reader, but I think I might give that a go. Yeah,
yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, links in the show notes for those. But the main reason why we have Beth on the podcast, the ERA. So, Beth, talk to us about the Mitsubishi, the F10E, and why this type of car, why this sort of spec, and what is it with this car that you wanted to portray about the series?
So, for those of you that are not familiar at all with our car and the championship, we are an entry-level electric Formula Racing series. So, the car is a single-seater, like you see in a lot of other motorsport, but entry-level means that the important things we had to consider when we were designing this car was around cost, because we want our series to be affordable and therefore accessible not only to companies and to teams that have lower budgets, but also to young drivers, up-and-coming drivers, and future driving talent. So the budget is really an important and was probably number one on our list at the drawing board back in the start when we started working on this project. The car itself is actually based on the Dome F1110 chassis, hence why it's called the F1110E. But we had to make a few changes to the car to make it EV ready, so it's got our own design sub-chassis as part of that. It's really exciting, actually, that we're working with the Dome car because I think it's the first time that the Japanese F1110 chassis is being used outside of Japan. So, yeah, that's pretty exciting.
Wow.
Yeah. So we've been kind of working for a while to make sure that the car is something accessible, and that was the biggest challenge, really, because as you can see in the world of EVs, if you put a lot of money into an EV concept, then you can pretty much do what you want, and that's why you see a lot of EVs on the automotive market coming out that are, fantastic but cost a lot of money. So the biggest challenge we had, I suppose, was to make something that didn't cost the earth and therefore be accessible, as I said.
That's brilliant. Yeah, I think for a lot of drivers going through the Formula series, it just costs way too much.
Yeah, exactly.
Even some of those drivers with a lot of backing, the backers are thinking, I could put you through Formula 2, or I could send you off to, a different series, whether that's over in Japan even, to sort of cut their teeth. But yeah, I think, for a single-seater entry-level series, this is, and it's great that that's one of the major considerations.
Yeah, that was it. Well, I mean, honestly, it was number one on the drawing board. It's always been make it affordable, and with that you have a lot of limitations. And I suppose for like the engineering team, that's been the real challenges they've had to overcome, which I think is the fun bit. Sometimes, obviously, I've worked in different areas of motorsport, but sometimes I look at some of the forms of motorsport where the budgets are endless, and I think, where's the challenge there? Because pretty much you can just do whatever. So there's kind of a beauty in the fact that we've had to really cost cut in a sense, but still make something that is completely fit for purpose and robust. So it's been a really enjoyable project to be working on. And it's absolutely a pleasure to be working with Dome on it as well, because I'm a huge fan of Japanese motorsport. So it's really exciting to be involved with them. Their work is incredible. I'm always amazed when I go to their workshop. So it's been really, really cool to bring this car from a Japanese combustion Formula 4 car into now the Mitsubishi F1 110E.
But I think that's very interesting, actually. To be able to really build that car and keep costs down to a minimum, it showcases talent in my eyes. It's not an easy job. I mean, you can have every resource available, unlimited cash flow, but to be able to build something within a specific requirement and restriction, it's good and still keep the cost down. I like that.
Yeah, it's been a big challenge, and initially I think this is a project that's been talked about for a while before it came to fruition, and I think we were always saying there's this space that we desperately want to fill. There was a lot of passion to fill this space, but it's understandable that it hasn't been filled because at the time it's not easy. We know that a lot of EV technology can be quite expensive. It is getting better because we're in the middle of this crazy EV revolution, so there's more and more tech becoming available, and therefore pricing is getting better and better. But yeah, it was the biggest challenge, and to build a car that was fit for purpose and fit for that spec, it definitely was a challenge, but one that we've risen to, and I think we've come up good now. People are going to start to see, so that's really exciting.
Yes, we can't wait to see what happens. And from what we understand, there are two categories in the ERA Championship. You have the innovation class and the sports class. So in the innovation class, teams are allowed to develop their own elements of the F110E, so energy storage systems and powertrain. And is that also on the software side and like the coding as well?
Yeah, that's right. So they can develop areas such as motor mapping, torque curve, the regen, and obviously all the normal setup stuff that you see across motorsport. The thing with innovation class is that, especially in the earlier years, we understand that some teams it's going to be quite a new thing, so they can also just choose one area that they want to develop and leave the rest to sports class spec. So for example, if the team has a kind of strong interest in developing something like the motor, maybe that's going to be the only bit on their innovation class car that is bespoke, and the rest of the car will be sports class spec, but that way they can kind of work on what fits to them, because for some teams it's a strong industry focus that's driving them to compete with us.
I think that's very important to include, really, because we are seeing this electric revolution, and then now we're seeing it in Formula E, and to give automotive manufacturers and groups that chance to have a bite into the industry and gain experience in that field, very important.
Yeah, definitely. And for us, I guess that's been another core driver for us, is to get a lot of smaller sized companies in a position to showcase their technology. Obviously, with the EV revolution, we've got a lot of startups and SME companies, and because of that, they maybe don't have huge budgets that they would need to compete in things like Formula E, where we're seeing obviously like all the German car makers and stuff participating. So we've got kind of a good platform for maybe a smaller company that builds one part, and you know, if you get a good result in a racing series, that's pretty reliable stats that you can use about your product, and who also doesn't love a racing car on their stand in an expo hall as well. So that's kind of an opportunity we saw to help elevate these companies that are working in the electric car sphere, but are maybe a younger company or a smaller company.
Yeah. What I like about this is it's not just a drivers' championship. It's a team venture as well, really. From what you're explaining, it's, you know, young drivers always aim to excel in junior formula and get the name out there. But this is always going to be a victory for the developer as well in the innovation class.
Yeah, that's definitely right.
Because the experience they'll gain is, yeah.
Yeah, that was exactly how we saw it. The innovation class was kind of came first, I think, in our thought process when the championship was formed, because we were seeing, as I said, all this technology out there from small enterprises, from startups, from universities. You know, we've got a lot of university teams that compete in motorsport style projects like Formula Student and things like that, and they've got amazing tech. But they're not out there actually racing. So we can see lots of partnerships between industry and between universities as well that can compete in innovation class, and also existing racing teams that are racing in entry-level formulas or any formula really that wants to kind of get their foot into electric motorsport in a kind of manageable way.
My mind goes straight to TUM from Robo Race. Just as a series that, you know, the universities would look on quite favorably, as in, you know, this is what our university can do. And I mean, for some of them, they could definitely use it as a marketing exercise, which is quite cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. The sports class, obviously just a spec car and more of a driver's series, would you say?
Yeah, so that's absolutely right. So as I said before, the innovation concept was definitely first in the origin of ERA Championship story, let's call it. What happened was then when the championship started to be kind of pitched out there to various people, that a lot of people actually wanted an off-the-shelf car, which wasn't something that was initially considered really, that there would be a fully spec car, but it was so overwhelming, the response, that a spec car was what was also wanted, that sports class was born. And as you said, sports class is an entirely spec car, purely for driver development, for driver championships, and it's great for a lot of teams that are running already in entry-level Formula Series, because they can just you know, plug and play.
That's very, very cool. Yeah. So what does a typical race weekend look like for the ERA, quali sessions and race sessions?
So a typical race weekend for us in season 1 is a double header. So we've got 2 races on. We have obviously a practice session, and then we have 2 qualies and 2 races. To make the championship a little bit fun and to make teams think a little bit about efficiency and energy storage issues, they are not allowed to charge between their quali sessions, and both of those are 15 minutes long. So they have half an hour of quali, which they need to do on one charge. Then they're allowed to charge between race 1 and race 2, and our races are 23 minutes each. So as you can kind of work out from that, it means there's got to be a little strategizing between your qualies. You can't just go all out for both quali 1 and quali 2 every single lap, because you're going to run out of energy.
I do like that about it. Yeah, that's quite cool. Yeah, I wonder if we will see cars stopping on track, just because.
I can't predict. We keep speculating of what teams are going to do, because of course if they really hammer it in quali 1, and then quali 2 is they're gonna have to be really playing catch up. And so I think it's going to mix up the grids a little bit, or that's the intention anyway. Whether in the start of the series we'll see strategies looking a lot different than towards the end of the series, once teams have really got used to the cars and what they're capable of and how they can manage their batteries. I'm just really looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It's a very interesting way to do it. I'm on board. I'm definitely on board with that. And the race, 23 minutes. So is that pushing the car's capacity, or do you expect them to make that 23-minute period instead of laps quite easily?
Well, I guess it depends how good the driver is at managing the car. So we have a 24 kilowatt hour battery in the sports class car and 130 kilowatts of power. So it's up to them what they do with it and how they use it. Certainly if they are not thinking about using regen properly and they're going quickly into corners, hard braking and then accelerating again, I think we're going to see some cars failing in the last couple of laps. But I guess the drivers, that's another reason why it's so important for young drivers that have got the intention to race in series like Formula E, actually get in the car of an electric car and start to feel the difference and understand how to manage their energy.
So, race points available. We have a maximum of 28 available. So that would be a traditional system for 3 points for pole. And would that be per class or overall? So both categories racing in one? Yeah.
Yes, you're absolutely right. So the point system is absolutely a traditional point system, as you see in Formula 1 and Formula E, etc. The classes are completely separate, points and championship-wise. For season 1, we are racing both classes on track at the same time. It's mainly due to the fact that for season 1 we only have 24 cars that we can produce, so it would be sad to have 2 kind of half-size grids. And also it enables the teams in their first year to switch class. We allow teams to switch from innovation class to sports class, not vice versa, because obviously that wouldn't really make sense. But if it gets close to race 1 and they're struggling to get their car finished or to get it working as it should be, then an innovation class team can easily add in the spec parts to make it a sports class car and compete within that series. So just because it's our first season, we're running them together. But ultimately, probably we will separate them out depending on interest of teams. Really, it's a discussion to have kind of with a consortium of the teams of what they want to do. But the intention is they are separate championships. Yes.
Okay, cool. So, and you mentioned the potential switch from innovation to sport.
Yeah.
If the innovation team is unable to get everything ready in time, do you have a homologation date for the championship as of yet?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So if a team wanted to switch from innovation class to sports class, then they'd have to work with our team to kind of make sure that they're then completely homologated to be within sports class. And we were hoping it's not going to happen. We're hoping that the teams that choose to be a part of innovation class can make it work. But also it's very easy for them to just buy spec parts as well to add in. So they can buy the spec motor from the sports class but then use their own battery or things like that. So it's a bit of a mix and match. And one of the things that's really important for us this year, specifically with the innovation class, is to work with them very, very closely, because with innovation, obviously, we need to know what they're building and what they're making. So in every kind of innovation class team for us it's a kind of a day-to-day conversation to make sure that we're working with them and always know what's going on. So our relationship with our teams is going to be a very, very close one. Maybe unusually close in motorsport, extra close especially because it's the first season.
Absolutely, and of course, across these two classes, we have one thing in common, which is those big black round rubber things called tyres.
Yep.
And we hear that your tyres are coming from Michelin.
Yeah.
Would they be slicks or all-weather kind of thing that we see in Formula E?
Yeah, we'll be with slicks and then of course wets in the weather. Formula E, the reason why they use, there's many reasons to use all weather, but obviously it makes sense. They're on street circuits, which sometimes have different surfaces, but also they're shipping their tyres. I think they're flying their tyres all around the world. So imagine if you had to have double sets of everything, it would be a lot of tyres going all around the world. So
it's a logistical nightmare.
Yeah, so I think it's a really sensible choice for Formula E to go with the all weathers, especially some of the surfaces that they race on, of course. But with us, we're racing on racing circuits, so we'll be going with slicks.
Fantastic. And I mean, you're really selling this to us right now. I mean, I can't wait for this to start.
I can't either.
Exactly.
I'm trying not to get overly excited. I'm trying to be professional.
There's nothing wrong with getting excited, Where can we watch this when it does start later this year?
We haven't announced where the series will be watchable, but I can tell you that it will be available to live stream and it won't be behind a paywall, so anybody will be able to watch. We'll hopefully be releasing more information on where it will be able to watch quite soon, so have a look on our social media channels and follow us to find out more about that.
The tease is unbelievable.
Or you can come to the circuit as well.
If you want to fly me over, that would be brilliant. Chris obviously would be a little bit easier to go and check it out. So, Chris, that's your mission, to go get some content from the ERA for us.
That's it. Regen on tour.
Yeah, please do.
Chris and Dana tackle Europe. It'd be brilliant.
So, what was your reasoning behind doing street tracks instead of street circuits like Formula E, or was that just never a consideration for the year?
Well, there's several to point out. Obviously, a big one is cost, because it costs a lot of money to put in the infrastructure that Formula E do, and I absolutely love what they do because it brings racing to a whole new audience, which is also a goal that we have. But I think we're going to have to reach that goal in a digital way, because with a low cost series, we just wouldn't be able to afford to build and remove a racetrack somewhere around the world. But there's other reasons too why we felt like traditional circuits was the way to go for us for now, including things like heritage, future-proofing the racing circuits, and another big thing, especially circuits around our HQ. ERA Championship is in Belgium, and our nearest circuit is Circuit Zolder, and Circuit Zolder's got a lot of noise restrictions, which means, I don't want to get this wrong, so I'm not going to give numbers, but I know they're only allowed to make noise maybe 1 or 2 days a week, which is, I guess, very difficult for a circuit when your revenue relies on putting cars on a racetrack. So we saw what we were doing as a good opportunity for circuits to maximize their track usage. When they're not allowed to be making noise, we can run electric cars on there because, of course, we don't make a noise. And well, as I said that, a car just made a load of noise.
That's great timing.
Yeah, we get all sorts of car noises around here. But yeah, as I was saying, so it gives them an opportunity to run when they're noise restricted, and also it gives circuits the opportunity to start looking at putting in infrastructure where needed, for not only for electric racing, but for customers that are going to start turning up into car parks, maybe with electric cars, and thinking about what they're doing, as well as training up their marshals, etc., on how to deal with electric car safety.
Yes, that's a big one, because obviously, Formula One has it now with the hybrid engines, that you see the drivers not stepping out of the car, actually jumping off the car, and so it's a bit of a change with grounding and everything. So yeah, I guess that's quite big for the safety of everyone involved.
Yeah, it's an important part of what we're doing with the circuits we're working with, and we work with a specific company and partner of ours that specialise in electric vehicle safety training for marshals and for fire brigade, and provide specialist fire equipment as well, because obviously it's different. It's a different procedure and different chemicals that you're dealing with than when they're dealing with the normal combustion cars they have racing on their circuits at the moment.
So where else can we expect the ERA to be racing? Obviously Zolder, but other sort of European cities?
Yeah. So one of the things with our calendar is obviously we have to bear in mind cost for our teams. So for season 1, obviously we're a little bit international because we're racing in circuits in the UK, in the Netherlands, and in Belgium. But ultimately, obviously our teams are not going to want to travel huge amounts. So we're looking at running kind of various, I wouldn't say regional, probably regional, national level series in different locations, so that it keeps travel costs down for the teams. But yeah, in season 1, as I said, you're going to see us in the UK, in the Netherlands, and in Belgium, which is nice little Northern Europe tour. In the future, we've got a few ideas of where else we're going to be going, and of course it's going to be led by what our teams want to do as well.
Sorry, when can we expect the calendar to be announced for 2020?
I think it's due to come out any moment, so I don't know if it might even be out before this podcast is.
Oh wow!
Wow. Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah, I don't want to get this wrong and get in trouble, but I've seen the finished calendar. It's a short but sweet calendar for season 1. We were always conscious that we needed to do things right and not overexert the series for the first series, but I think it's gonna be good, and I think we're alongside some good events. So I think it's gonna be nice.
Excellent. Well, we're definitely looking forward to it. So, what does 2020 hold for you, Beth? What are you getting up to? Are you coming back to New Zealand?
Yeah, I'm actually. I think it's under 2 weeks I'm coming back to New Zealand now, so I'm already preparing myself for needing all of the caffeine in the world.
Well, yeah, there's definitely some good coffee stops. I'm not sure if you sampled a lot of coffee on your way through the North Island, but the South Island is brilliant for coffee as well.
Is it? Okay, well, yeah, I didn't have enough coffee, I would say, but I did eat a kiwi fruit every day. So I think I was true to the spirit of New Zealand. But yeah, as I said, I'm coming back in literally 13 days, I think. For work, we're looking at where we're going to be taking the championship in the future. There's a few different continents that we're looking at that have expressed interest in having us, or that we feel is a good fit for the championship. So that's kind of a big part of my job at the moment, is to see where we can go and how many cars we're going to need to build in the next 5 years. And of course, we kick off season 1 in Europe, so everything's kind of gearing up towards that at the moment.
So Beth, what are the social handles? Where can we follow you, your trip to New Zealand, and the ERA once again?
So you can follow me on Beth Lily Race on all the platforms that I'm aware of anyway, because there's always new ones. And you can follow ERA Championship on @ERA Championship.
You can also follow us on Twitter at Regen Racing and regenracingpodcast.com. Thank you for continuing to listen to us. We're looking forward to bringing you a lot of different content in 2020, a bit of writing from Regen Charge Point on Medium, and yeah, also doing a lot of other interesting things, so stay tuned. Thank you very much for listening. We will talk to you again soon.
Bye-bye.
And hopefully maybe turn a few petrol heads, if I can say that.